Transformers 1 was directed by Josh Cooley and is the first animated Transformers movie to be released in theaters since 1986. That last one was the Transformers the movie that came out then. I just talked about that. In fact, you can check out that video on my channel. Before you knew them as Optimus Prime and Megatron though, they were Orion Pax and D16, two miners working in Iacon City on Cybertron and dreaming of lives much greater than the ones that they have, believing that there is more out there. Eventually they get involved on an adventurous quest that takes them down those paths, but the destinations may not align with one another, and eventually there is a rift that results between them, leading to the versions of the characters that we know them as. This is a story that oftentimes when you look at the lore of the Transformers universe, it gets talked about, but oftentimes you're sort of landing up in the middle of everything already gone wrong. Whether you think of the video games, movies, the shows, the books, oftentimes you're already at a point where the Cybertronian war has been going on, and it's coming to that point where the planet has almost completely lost all sense of being. And so to see the origin point of all of this, seeing Cybertron in its heyday even, and to even see Orion Pax and D16 getting transformation abilities is extremely interesting. And it leads to a movie that even my friend described it as sort of like the X-Men First Class of the Transformers franchise. And I loved it. I had an absolute blast with this movie. And a lot of that has to do with just how well it understands that friendship between Orion Pax and D16. I keep saying the full names, but it's what it is. That friendship that's between them, the banter that's going on and off as the movie starts up, seeing how much they're looking out for one another and propping each other up is really, really great. And it leads to some great performances too from Chris Hemsworth and Brian Tyree Henry, who bring these characters to life really well. You have to understand they are not the versions of Optimus and Megatron we know yet. And until we get there to see how they started off here, making all kinds of mistakes, not fully grasping just how much is about to change very, very soon, it's very interesting to see that dynamic unfold. And like I said, the voice performances are really great. Other characters they meet along the way include B-127 and Elita 1, voiced by Keegan-Michael Key and Scarlett Johansson, both of whom are also really well realized. And both of whom are also at a point where they are wanting to do greater things. And they have different motivations that are playing into this, and eventually as they're involved with this adventure too, getting to see all of that unfold is great. There's a great running joke, however, with B-127 because Bumblebee, as you know from most things you've seen in Transformers, doesn't have a voice. He doesn't talk. Most of the time he talks through the radio. He does talk in some continuities, like, you know, in the G1 show and all that, but it's mostly quiet. So the fact that the one big joke in this movie also happens to be that he can't shut up is pretty great. But it's also not annoying. There's never a point where I felt like, okay, he's going on too much. It's self-aware that he is like that. And so every time a character will, you know, hear him talking and go, hey, can someone shut this guy up? You're just sitting there as a fan going, careful what you wish for. And I also like how they did Elita 1. She's not fully on board with everybody at first. Eventually she works her way up to that point, and the way that progress is showcased is really good. And I really like the voice performance with that too from Scarlett Johansson. I thought she did a really good job, and there's a few moments with her that were really, really great. And so much was done with these characters so well. I really liked the execution of all of it across the board when it comes to just the characterization. I think in that sense alone, this is leagues above a lot of the Transformers movies that have come out in the past. The animation is gorgeous. Dazzling sequences throughout with some really vibrant colors and very kinetically charged sequences that really do put you on the edge of your seat. As the movie progresses, these just get better and better, and they're wonderfully directed. There's some fantastic action sequences, particularly towards the third act, that had my jaw on the floor, and it's really great stuff. But even early on in the movie, everything that's going on, the way it sets things up, really, really fast-paced and wonderfully executed. There's a really great racing sequence that you've seen some teasers of. I love that. It's something that is immediately like, you know, you're locked in when you see that, and I love how they did that. The movie has two tones that play with one another. There is, of course, the comedic and more fun, lighthearted tone with the characters at first, but it realizes that there is a switch at one point. You have to see these characters become something that will eventually create the versions that you know of them. And the movie handles that quite nicely. It manages to make that second half, where things start to get a lot more serious, work pretty effectively, and I really liked how it eventually does play out towards that final resolution that you're heading towards. It's something that you know is about to happen, and I can see some watching this and saying that way it's very predictable. But I don't think it's so much about knowing where the story is going. You already know. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you know that these two become Optimus Prime and Megatron, so there's no surprise over there. The surprises are in how it makes that relationship ripping apart feel as tangible or intangible, depending on how you look at it, as it can. And I think it accomplishes that so well. The entire movie is built on that. So if that doesn't work, the rest doesn't work. And then, of course, with the supporting characters around, it's great. Lots of Easter eggs, by the way, to find in that sense, because not every major Transformers character you'll see in this movie makes an appearance. But every now and then, if you look around, you'll find some surprises, which is a lot of fun. Every now and then you'll have an appearance from someone, and it's really great how the movie manages to encapsulate a lot of that too. There's a lot of Easter eggs also hidden within the score from Brian Tyler, who does an outstanding job with this movie. Some really great music over here, and something that I'm not surprised about, because he also did the theme and some of the music for Transformers Prime, which is probably my favorite animated Transformers TV show. I absolutely loved it, and I've actually seen it twice over. If you've never seen Transformers Prime, side note over here, go check it out. It's entirely on YouTube, on the Transformers YouTube channel. Definitely worth your time. It's excellent stuff. Now, the movie moves pretty quickly. Once it gets started, it is non-stop all the way to the finish line. And a lot happens over here that it is tackling quite extensively. Though if I had to say there was one minor issue that I had with the movie, I would say it's a little too fast at times. There were a couple of moments where I feel like it could have taken maybe a couple of more minutes to make a few more ideas sort of click. I think a little more could have been done over there, especially like, I can't really say where, but it's like somewhere in the middle of the movie, there's a couple of things that come up, and I thought, oh, that's cool. I would have liked to know a little bit more about that, but you don't really get enough time over there. At the same time, if you're a Transformers fan, then you know a little bit about stuff, so it kind of fills in the blanks, your previous knowledge of certain things. But I would have liked a little bit more. I mean, it's not that the movie is super long anyway. It's an hour and 44 minutes, and it feels like 15 minutes. So I just feel like a little more over there would have been nice. But beyond that, I'm trying to think really hard about any major issues that I have with Transformers 1, and I honestly can't find any. It's a really great story about friendship, the rivalry that it eventually results in, the world building of Cybertron, and seeing it in its heyday is so interesting, like how it's just this beautifully functioning city, the underbelly of it, the other characters who are met along the way, the storytelling is great, and it's my favorite Transformers movie that I have seen to date. I think my favorite ones so far were the first Transformers from Michael Bay and also Bumblebee. I loved those. Even Dark of the Moon, actually. But I think here is something truly special that takes some of the best qualities of those and brings them together. And I really have to say, the trailers for this don't do it justice. There is, as the tagline of the franchise goes, way more to this than meets the eye. And I absolutely loved it. As a Transformers fan, and I'm extremely happy as a film critic. It's one of my favorite movies of the year even. And I had a wonderful time with it, and I cannot wait to see it again. I'm gonna give Transformers 1 a 9.5 out of 10. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you guys think of Transformers 1. I am so happy with it personally, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about it. And as always, if you like this, please do subscribe. Thank you very much once again for watching, and I will see you guys at the movies.